When my wife passed, I moved in with my daughter so I wouldn't be alone. I cleaned, cooked, even picked up her kids from school. One evening, I heard her tell a friend she was tired of playing nurse. The next week, she booked me a room at a budget motel for a break. I said nothing until I read the insurance policy she left on the table. My wife, Gloria, passed away 2 years ago. 42 years we were married. She was the quiet one, always humming while folding laundry, leaving notes on the fridge for me, little reminders or jokes. When she died, something in me just went cold. I didn't know what to do with myself. I couldn't sleep in our bed. I didn't want to eat. I'd sit in my recliner and stare at the TV without hearing a word. After the funeral, my daughter Rachel called and said, "Dad, you can't be alone like this. Come stay with us for a while. The kids miss you." I hesitated, but she kept insisting. I didn't want to be a burden, but she said, "You'll actually be helping me. You can help with the kids, the house. It'll be good for both of us." So I packed up 2 suitcases, left my home in Bakersfield and moved into her place in Henderson, Nevada. I gave up the house Gloria and I bought in '86, the one we paid off early. I didn't want to live there alone. It hurt too much. Rachel's house was loud, always something going on. Her husband Trey worked from home, always locked in the garage or his office. He barely looked at me. The kids, Joel and Lila, were sweet, though. They liked having me around. I'd pack their lunches, walk them to school when I could, and made sure they washed their hands before dinner. I kept the place clean, cooked most nights, fixed their leaky kitchen faucet, replaced their broken microwave, even paid to get the garage door fixed once without saying a word. I didn't complain. I figured if I was useful, they wouldn't regret having me there. A few times Rachel would get short with me, little sighs if I asked too many questions. One night I made spaghetti and she said, "Ugh, we just had pasta 2 nights ago," and scraped her plate into the trash without even tasting it. But I let it go. Grief makes people say things they don't mean, I told myself. But then something happened that changed how I saw everything. One night, after putting Joel to bed, I was walking down the stairs when I heard Rachel talking on the phone in the kitchen. She didn't know I was there. I heard her say, "I'm just tired of playing nurse, you know?" Her voice was low, drained. It's like having a third kid, but one that doesn't leave. He just sits here. He's always around. Then she laughed, and said, "I didn't sign up for this. He was supposed to help, not move in permanently." I just stood there, frozen. My own daughter, talking about me like I was some rotting piece of furniture in her house. She said one more thing before I turned and went back upstairs. "I'm working on something. I just need a little more time." I didn't sleep that night. I kept playing those words in my head over and over. Playing nurse. Didn't sign up for this. Working on something. I didn't know what that last part meant, but I was about to find out. The following week, she sat me down. Didn't even look me in the eye. Said, "Dad, I think you need a little break. You've been doing so much. I booked you a room at the Budget Inn on Eastern for a few nights. Just clear your head. We'll call you if we need anything." She handed me an envelope with $100 in it, like I was some distant relative visiting from out of town. I didn't argue. I just packed a bag and left. The motel was a dump. Stains on the sheets. Loud AC unit that rattled like it was dying. I stared at the ceiling all night, thinking, how did I get here? The next morning, I realized I forgot my blood pressure pills. I went back to the house around noon. Nobody was home. I let myself in, grabbed my meds from the upstairs drawer. On my way out, I noticed a folder on the kitchen counter, labeled Insurance Active. It was open. I saw my name on one of the forms. I don't know what made me stop and look through it, but I did. It was a long-term care policy. Apparently, I'd been signed up months ago, without my knowledge. The paperwork listed me as requiring assistance for daily living. The policy had monthly payouts, $3,000, paid directly to the care provider, Rachel. I flipped through the rest. Signatures, medical forms. She had forged a doctor's note, or at least exaggerated everything. Said I couldn't bathe or dress myself. Said I had mild cognitive decline. None of it true. She'd been collecting money to care for me. That's what she meant by working on something. I put the folder back exactly where I found it. Took my pills. Walked out the front door without a sound. Back at the motel, I sat on the bed, shaking. I wasn't just a burden to her. I was a paycheck, a signed and sealed monthly payout from her aging father. That's when I stopped feeling sad. I started feeling angry. She thought I was weak, that I wouldn't notice, that I'd just die quietly while she cashed checks off my name. But Rachel doesn't know who she's dealing with. She's going to find out what it feels like to be used. And when I'm done, she'll wish she'd just left me in that house with Gloria's ghost. I didn't go back to Rachel's house after that day. She called once, then texted, "You okay, Dad? Kids miss you." I didn't respond. I needed space to think, to calm down. Truth was, I wasn't okay. I kept the motel room another week, paid out of my own savings. I sat in that cheap room every day, going over everything in my head, trying to figure out what to do. I had questions, like how she got the policy in the first place. I dug into it, called the number on the paperwork, posed as Rachel's assistant, got the agent to tell me a few things. Turns out, she used a third-party insurance broker to write up the policy. She listed her home as a licensed care environment. It wasn't, but they never checked. Even worse, she backdated a few care logs to make it look like she'd been providing round-the-clock supervision, bathing me, dressing me, administering meds. All lies. She filed those documents every month. The insurance company had no clue. They'd been paying out regularly, $3,000 a month, right into her personal account. That money wasn't going toward my care. I saw the new iPads the kids got, the upgraded SUV in the driveway. Suddenly, they were eating takeout every other night. She used me. I decided to test something. I sent Rachel a text. "I'd like to move back in, if that's okay. Motel's too expensive." She replied 4 hours later, "Things are kind of hectic right now. Maybe give it another week." I didn't respond. I knew what that meant. She wasn't ready to fake it again. Or maybe the extra stress of pretending to be a caregiver wasn't worth the $3,000. I was only useful to her if I kept quiet and stayed in line. But I wasn't planning to stay quiet. The next day, I went to a lawyer. A quiet office in a strip mall just off St. Rose Parkway. Guy named Clay Michaels. I told him everything. Showed him the paperwork, the forged forms, the texts. He listened without saying much, then said something I'll never forget. "You realize this is insurance fraud, right? And elder abuse." That word, abuse, hit me hard. But it was true. Clay told me we had a case. Civil and criminal. He laid out what we could do. We could press charges, sue her for restitution, maybe even get the insurance company involved. But I wasn't sure I wanted to go nuclear. Not yet. Because part of me still remembered the little girl who used to fall asleep on my chest during storms. The kid who cried when I left for business trips. But that little girl was gone. And what stood in her place was a woman who looked me in the eye and called herself tired of playing nurse while skimming thousands off the top. That week, something else happened. I got a call from my granddaughter, Lila. She was crying. "Mom said you didn't want to see us anymore. Why don't you love us?" I had to pull the phone away from my ear. My throat closed up. I told her that wasn't true, that I loved her very much. I just needed time. But I knew what Rachel was doing. She was setting the stage, rewriting the story before I could speak. She told the kids I left them. She told her friends I was unstable, slipping, hard to handle. She was erasing the truth in real time. I knew then that she wasn't going to stop. She'd keep collecting that check, keep spinning her lies, unless I stopped her. And I was going to, but not with lawyers. Not yet. I had something else in mind. Something that would make her feel every bit of the shame, fear, and betrayal she handed me, one forged document at a time. A week after Lila's call, I made a decision. I wasn't going to stay hidden. Rachel wanted me out of sight, out of mind, so she could keep the checks coming and control the story. I wasn't going to give her that satisfaction. So I went back to the house, unannounced. It was early evening. The garage was open. Trey's new SUV, leased with my care money, no doubt, was parked inside. I rang the doorbell and waited. Rachel opened the door, startled. Her mouth dropped open. Then she quickly stepped outside, shutting the door behind her. "Dad, what are you doing here?" She hissed. "You should have called." "I did," I said. "You told me to wait another week." She looked around nervously, as if afraid the neighbors might see. "Let's not do this out here. Come inside." "No," I said. "You can come to me. Out here." Her expression shifted. She knew. She must have realized then I'd found the paperwork. "You read it, didn't you?" she asked. I didn't answer, just watched her squirm. "It's not what you think," she started. "It's just things got tight. Trey lost a big contract last year." I didn't know what else to do. "You didn't know what else to do?" I repeated. So you lied about my health. Took out a care policy in my name. Cashed checks pretending you were wiping my ass. Her face twisted with guilt and anger. You were living here rent-free, eating our food, using our electricity. What did you expect? I expected my daughter to have a conscience. She turned, like she was going back in the house. We're done here. But we weren't. Not even close. That night, I reached out to Joel. He's 16, old enough to think for himself. Smart kid, always reading or fiddling with electronics. I asked him to meet me at a coffee shop near his school. He showed up the next day, nervous but curious. I want to show you something, I told him. I slid the copies of the insurance paperwork across the table. He read for a while in silence. Then he looked up. Is this real? Yes, I said. Your mom's been collecting $3,000 a month claiming I need full-time care. That's why she kicked me out. He stared at the page, then said, Jesus Christ. I didn't ask him to choose sides. I didn't say another word. I just let the truth sink in. 2 days later, I got an email from someone I didn't recognize. It was an attachment, a scanned PDF, labeled Audio Transcript, Rachel 6:20 seconds. I opened it. It was a typed transcript of a phone call. Rachel speaking to the insurance company, claiming I had late-stage memory issues, claiming I needed assistance dressing and bathing, claiming I'd been diagnosed with mild dementia. It was dated 3 days after my wife's funeral. The file came with a short message. She used our home printer. I found the saved recordings on the Google Drive. She's done, Grandpa. Joel. That was the moment I knew I had her. But I also knew this went deeper than money. Rachel had made decisions with zero remorse. She hadn't just lied to an insurance company, she'd turned her own father into a fake patient, twisted the love of her own kids, and thrown me into a motel like trash. This wasn't just fraud. It was betrayal at the blood level. I wasn't going to stop with an insurance claim. Rachel was about to feel real consequences. Because I was done being the quiet, broken old man. I was going to remind her exactly who raised her, and what happens when you try to bury someone who taught you how to fight. I met with Clay Michaels again, the lawyer. This time, I laid it all out, the forged documents, the policy terms, the call transcript Joel found. He nodded slowly as I spoke, scribbling notes on a yellow legal pad. We could go civil or criminal, he said. Or both. But if you want to do this right, we start with the insurance company. Let them know they've been defrauded. I gave him the green light. 2 weeks later, Rachel's world started crumbling. First came the letter from the insurance provider. A formal notice of investigation, citing suspected fraud, misrepresentation, and breach of contract. Then came the demand for full repayment, every dollar she'd collected. She ignored it, thought she could ride it out. Then she got the second letter, from the Nevada Department of Insurance. A formal fraud inquiry. Joel told me she cried in the kitchen that night, phone in hand, reading it over and over. Then came the audit. The company sent a private investigator, interviewed neighbors, asked for caregiver documentation, looked into her claims. It didn't take long to unravel the lie. Rachel wasn't trained. Their house wasn't certified for care. She had no logs, no proof, no consistency. And then, finally, came the interview request from the Clark County District Attorney's Office. By then, it was over. Clay filed a civil suit alongside the criminal case. Elder abuse, financial exploitation, fraud. Rachel tried to fight it, claimed she was overwhelmed, claimed she did it out of love, that it was all a misunderstanding. She even tried to pin some of it on me. She knew what she was doing, I told the DA's office. She booked me into a budget motel while she collected checks off my name. That's not a misunderstanding. That's theft. When the investigators asked about the audio transcript, I handed it over. Rachel was charged formally 2 months later. Felony insurance fraud and elder exploitation. She pled guilty to avoid jail time, but they still gave her 5 years probation, 1,000 hours of community service, and a permanent mark on her record. The insurance company sued her separately. She lost, had to sell the SUV and take out a second mortgage. That policy? Canceled. They made sure every payout was clawed back. But the worst part for her wasn't legal. It was personal. Trey left. Joel moved in with me. Lila barely speaks to her now. She's old enough to understand what her mom did, even if she doesn't say much. Rachel still lives in that same house. But she lives in a version of hell I wouldn't wish on anyone. Not because of jail or lawyers, but because she lost her family. The people she thought would always be too loyal or too afraid to fight back. She sees Joel and Lila once a month, maybe. She calls me sometimes. I don't answer. I live in a small condo now, quiet and clean. I cook for myself, walk every day. I'm not helpless, and I never was. She thought I'd fade away, but instead I stood up. And now, every time she checks her bank account, sees that mounting debt, walks past the empty kids' rooms, she remembers. She remembers what happens when you turn your father into a dollar sign. And I hope she never forgets.